Scalping is a game of speed, precision, and nerve. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's not for those who crave excitement. It's for those who can stay calm in chaos, who can think clearly when everything moves too fast for comfort. When done right, it's not gambling, it's controlled warfare. But make no mistake, the difference between mastery and madness in scalping is razor thin. Most traders who try it fail not because of poor setups, but because they lack discipline and self-control. In my early years, I learned that the market rewards precision. I spent hours watching the tape, studying every tick, every hesitation, every sudden burst of volume. I realized something that most traders never see. The market reveals its intentions in micro movements before it makes a major move. If you can read those subtle clues, you can take small, consistent bites from the market every day. That's the essence of scalping, profiting from the tiny imbalances between supply and demand before the crowd even realizes they exist. But before anyone can succeed in this approach, one truth must be accepted. Scalping isn't about predicting, it's about reacting. It's not about being smarter than the market, it's about being faster than your emotions. Scalping is not a system you impose on the market, it's a rhythm you learn to move with. You must become a part of the flow, not fight against it. Let me tell you how this works in practice. Every scalp begins with observation. You do not start by trading, you start by waiting. Watch how price behaves around key levels, support, resistance, intraday highs and lows. Watch how volume surges at these points and how quickly it fades. When you begin to see these patterns daily, you start to sense the pulse of the market. That's when opportunity appears not as noise, but as clarity. The most consistent scalping strategy I ever developed was based on 5 elements: direction, momentum, liquidity, reaction, and timing. These are the pillars of every profitable scalp, and if one is missing, the trade becomes dangerous. Direction is your compass. Never scalp against the main intraday trend. The market always has a bias, even within chaos. The novice tries to buy dips in a falling market or short spikes in a rising one. That's suicide. In scalping, the edge is small, and the margin for error is tiny. Always align with the dominant direction. Your job is to ride the smallest waves in the direction of the tide. Momentum is your lifeblood. Scalping thrives on short bursts of energy, moments when the price surges with volume and conviction. When you see hesitation or choppiness, step aside. A good scalp starts fast and ends fast. Momentum is what pays you. If the move stalls, exit immediately. Never hope. Scalping demands instant decisions. Hesitation is death. Liquidity is your protection. You only trade where there's enough volume to enter and exit without slippage. I've seen traders scalp illiquid stocks and lose their entire profit to spreads and execution delays. Scalping requires smooth entries and exits, tight spreads, high volume, constant activity. Without liquidity, even a correct decision turns into a costly one. Reaction is your edge. You must react faster than the crowd. When price hits a level and rejects violently, that's your signal. When volume spikes unexpectedly and price surges, that's your confirmation. The best scalpers don't predict what will happen, they react instantly when it does. You're not trading the future, you're trading the present. Timing is the final piece. Scalping is not something you do all day. The best trades occur when liquidity and volatility meet, typically in the first and last hour of the session. That's when emotion is highest and inefficiency is greatest. In between, the market drifts, and so does your focus. Know when to strike and when to sit out. A scalper who trades all day ends up feeding the market instead of feeding on it. Now, let's talk about what separates a profitable scalper from a reckless one. It's not strategy, it's control. Scalping requires absolute discipline because your edge depends on repetition and consistency. You cannot afford to improvise or let emotions interfere. Every scalp must have a defined entry, a defined exit, and a predefined stop. Never move your stop, never widen it, hoping the market will reverse. Scalping is a game of small wins and smaller losses. The moment you let one trade turn into a large loss, your entire day is ruined. One of the hardest lessons I learned was that successful scalping is about cutting fast and cutting clean. When I first began, I'd hold losing trades for a few seconds too long, thinking I could outweight the market. That hesitation cost me thousands. Later, I realized that being wrong quickly is better than being right slowly. A professional scalper takes pride not in big wins, but in fast exits. There's another side to this game, that most traders ignore the psychology of repetition. Scalping forces you to make dozens of decisions in a short time. Each one demands focus, detachment, and precision. If you let frustration or excitement creep in, your judgment becomes clouded. You start chasing moves you missed or doubling down after a loss. That's not trading. That's emotional reaction. The key is to treat every scalp as an independent event. Win or lose, reset your mind before the next trade. Never carry emotion from one decision to another. Scalping requires the mentality of a surgeon, cold, precise, and consistent. You execute the plan, not your feelings. Now, many traders ask me if there's a scalping strategy that always works. The truth is, nothing works always. The market changes its tempo, but principles never change. The most reliable approach is the one rooted in discipline and risk management. The setup may vary, but the mindset must remain constant. Here's what I found to be the most effective setup over the years. Wait for the market to establish a direction early in the session. Identify a key level that price tests multiple times, either a high, low, or midpoint. Then, wait for a sudden break accompanied by strong volume. Don't jump immediately. Wait for the first pullback or retest. When price holds that level and shows renewed momentum in the same direction, that's your entry. Your target should be small, just a few ticks or points. Your stop should be smaller. The goal is not to win big, it's to win often with controlled risk. The power of this approach lies in repetition. 10 small wins with 1 small loss will grow your account more reliably than 1 home run trade surrounded by failures. Scalping is the art of small, repeatable profits executed with military discipline. Every scalper must also master exits. The moment price hesitates or loses energy, you exit, no questions asked. A scalp that doesn't move instantly is already a warning sign. Never turn a scalp into a swing trade out of hope. Hope is poison in this business. Scalping thrives on speed, not faith. I've also learned that the best scalpers don't trade noise, they trade moments of imbalance. Watch for sudden surges in volume, false breakouts, or emotional reactions to news. The crowd often overreacts in the short term, and that overreaction is where your opportunity lies. You step in, take your piece, and step out before they realize what happened. Scalping also teaches you humility. There's no room for ego in a game that moves this fast. You can't force the market to behave. You can only participate when it allows you. Some days, opportunities are everywhere. Other days, the tape is dead, and your only profitable action is to walk away. The scalper who can sit on his hands during slow markets will outlive the one who forces trades. There's an old saying I lived by. You can't go broke taking small profits, but you can go broke taking small losses the wrong way. That means your winners must come from good setups, and your losers must be cut before they grow. The only way scalping works long-term is if you manage losses ruthlessly. A perfect scalper knows that his biggest tool isn't his chart, it's his mindset. Every tick on the tape tests your patience, confidence, and discipline. If you can master yourself in the heat of fast markets, you'll find consistency. But if you let emotion dictate your reaction, you'll lose even with a good system. Here's the truth few want to hear. Scalping is the hardest way to trade, but it's also the most honest. It exposes every weakness instantly. There's no time to lie to yourself, no time to rationalize mistakes. Every trade gives instant feedback. You either executed well or you didn't. That's why I recommend scalping only for those who've already mastered emotional control. But when done right, it works. Not because it's magic, but because it aligns perfectly with the timeless principles of trading discipline, risk control, and reaction to real price movement. Scalping strips away illusion. It forces you to see the market for what it is, supply and demand in motion. If you truly want to make scalping work, focus on 3 simple rules. Trade only when the setup is clear, never risk more than you can afford to lose, and take profits without hesitation. Do this long enough, and your results will stop fluctuating wildly. Consistency will emerge not from perfection, but from discipline. Remember, in trading, the market rewards control, not chaos. Scalping magnifies this truth. You are measured not by how much you make in one trade, but by how well you follow your rules across 100 trades. The goal is not excitement, it's precision. But when done right, it works. Not because it's magic, but because it aligns perfectly with the timeless principles of trading discipline, risk control, and reaction to real price movement. Scalping strips away illusion. It forces you to see the market for what it is, supply and demand in motion. If you truly want to make scalping work, focus on 3 simple rules. Trade only when the setup is clear. Never risk more than you can afford to lose, and take profits without hesitation. Do this long enough, and your results will stop fluctuating wildly. Consistency will emerge not from perfection, but from discipline. Remember, in trading, the market rewards control, not chaos. Scalping magnifies this truth. You are measured not by how much you make in one trade, but by how well you follow your rules across 100 trades. The goal is not excitement, it's precision. The strategy that always works isn't a pattern or a setup. It's the ability to follow your edge with unwavering discipline, to respect risk with every trade, and to let go of emotion before it ever touches your decision. That's the secret the charts can't show you, but the tape always will. Scalping works because it teaches the most valuable trading lesson of all. Control the small, and the big will take care of itself. Every trade is a test of your mastery, not of the market. And when you reach the point where your reactions are calm, your losses are small, and your rules are absolute, that's when scalping truly becomes profitable. So, if you want to know the real secret behind a scalping strategy that works, it's not in the entry or the exit. It's in the trader who executes it. The market doesn't reward the fastest click. It rewards the calmest mind. When your decisions are ruled by logic instead of emotion, when your patience outweighs your impulses, you've found the only strategy that never fails discipline.